asshole for telling my father's girlfriend that it's not my fault she doesn't have any friends? And this has an update. My 26 female father, late 50s, my Am I the asshole for telling my father's girlfriend that it's not my fault she doesn't have any friends? My 26 female father, late 50s, has been with Trudy, early 40s, for about 6 years, but she only moved in with him a little under a year ago. Before that, she lived in a different city. Since they started dating, Trudy has established herself as essentially a housewife. It was her choice, from what I gather. My father was against it, and she seems happy with it. But she's a little extreme about it. She doesn't work, has no hobbies, and refuses to go anywhere without my father. And he often leaves on work trips for days at a time. When he's in town, she joins him in whatever he's doing. When he's not, her daily routine consists of going to the gym and returning home to order takeout and watch TV. That's not a housewife if you're returning home to order takeout, though, like, honestly. I mean, the usual vision of a housewife is like you cook for everything and, you do that. Not that I'm against ordering out like when you're a mom or like, when you're busy or if you're a housewife with no kids, that's not a problem. But like if you want to like be an essential housewife, like you cooking is kind of part of that description. All right, continuing. Because of that, Trudy has no friends in the city. She never meets anyone. Her whole family is a 6 hour drive away, and only my father's friends come to her birthday parties. Recently, both Trudy and my father started pushing for me and my sister to hang out with Trudy or include her in whatever plans I make, because she's spending a lot of time home alone and has been getting lonely. They've mostly given up on asking my sister, but still try to convince me. I never do, both because I can't and because I don't like Trudy. I'm well aware that that's not her problem and I'm always polite, but I don't want to spend time with her when I don't have to. I also have a baby and a job, so whatever free time I have tends to revolve around my son. Even when it doesn't, Trudy and I don't have the same interests. Last Friday, Trudy was home alone and invited me, my husband, and our baby over to watch a movie with her. We thanked her, but said no because husband wanted to catch up on work and I didn't want to take our son out on my own. Both true. On Saturday, we ended up inviting my best friend and her husband for a small game night at our place. Said friend later posted on an Instagram story about it. My father returned on Sunday morning and we saw my family at a small get together that day. Trudy was quiet, which was out of character. Right before we left, she and my father pulled me aside. We had an argument because Trudy had seen what my friend had posted. She said she was upset I hadn't thought of including her or taking her up on her offer to hang out when she was home alone. My father told me I'd been inconsiderate as she hasn't made any friends around here yet, and I know how lonely she's been lately. I said it's not my fault she doesn't have any friends and I don't have to include her in my plans just because she refuses to meet new people. Trudy got offended, but my husband and I had to leave. Yesterday, my father texted me saying that Trudy was still upset about what I said and he thinks I owe her an apology. He thinks that I'm bullying his girlfriend by refusing to hang out with her, and it was rude of me to imply that her lack of friends is her own fault. That was not what I meant, and I don't like being treated like Trudy's cure for loneliness, but I do understand how what I said could be seen as rude. So, here we have a few comments where OP responds. The first one is, not the asshole. Why is Trudy looking at your friend's Instagram story? It's not your job to entertain her or invite her to anything. Trudy's a grown ass woman who needs to get a life of her own instead of crying to her boyfriend that his kids don't want to hang out with her. OP's response is she started following some of my friends during my birthday party a few months ago. Said friend has been my best friend since diapers and is a little more active on social media, so Trudy checks hers more often. Our second comment is not the asshole. Explain to your dad that you are not bullying her, but they are bullying you. You have said nothing mean to her or about her, and you have not done anything mean to her. You did not attack her with a statement, you defended against their attack. You are a working mother with limited time already, and she is not offering to help you in any way. She is just demanding a portion of your already limited time. The fact that she has no child and no job and is bored does not give her the right to add stress to your already stressed life. And then OP responds with, things with her have gotten so much worse since my son was born. I always thought my father would be more difficult to deal with around this time, but she does not understand how limited my free time actually is. And our last comment before we move on to the update is this one. It is exceedingly hard for me to sympathize with or feel any compassion for women in these situations because if it's against their husband's wishes, then it's ultimately entirely a situation of the woman's designs. Any dislike for the situation and any absence of a life beyond being a housewife is entirely by her own decision. Plus, from what it sounds like, she basically doesn't have any real constraints because she just sits on her butt ordering takeout and watching TV. Like, join a club, take up a hobby, read books. If you're just scrolling TikTok and watching TV, then your loneliness is your own fault. Also, it's not necessarily bullying to exclude. Freedom of assembly is a personal right, and you're not required to spend time with her just because she's a loser, not the asshole. Ugh. Okay, my father was indeed against it, but at the same time, he's always liked having people who depend on him, even if he doesn't want to admit it. I love the guy, but living with him wasn't easy, and our relationship got 1,000 times better when I moved out. This is actually the first fight we've had in a while. I think the main problem is with how intense it is. She quite literally refuses to do anything without him. Sometimes that comes at the expense of other people's money, comfort, or time. She doesn't care. I do think my father enjoys having her around, but her fixation on being a Terminator housewife bothers him too. So this is an okay. This is the update. I'm gonna. This is the update that she shared. It's almost been 2 weeks since I posted here. I wouldn't say I've sorted anything out, but I'm satisfied with what's happened. A few days after my post, I reached out to all my friends who know Trudy and told them to either block her on social media or just remove her as a follower. I don't think she was using them to stalk me or anything. She spends a lot of time on her phone. It was actually very unlikely she wouldn't see the story my friend posted that day, but I figured out it would be best to prevent this from happening again. I also removed her from my followers. My account has been private anyway. You know what? I would have said, it's not my fault, and you're not gonna like have no. Yeah, I'll just be like, let her see. I don't care. But I'm petty like that. I decided to have a one on one conversation with my father so that we could talk things through. So we agreed to have lunch on Saturday. We settled on a restaurant near my place and agreed it would be the both of us. The day of, he called and told me Trudy was insisting on coming along to keep us company. I told him no. I wanted to talk to him on my own. We had a small fight because he didn't want to leave Trudy alone, so I told him it was best we rescheduled it. My husband and I had lunch together and took our baby to the park instead. That night, I told my husband what had happened, and he said, I love that you're still trying to be nice to them, but it's not working. I don't think it's working. Between that, your comments, and the fact that I'm exhausted, I decided to give up. I can't force my father and Trudy to listen, but I can at least put my foot down. I called my father the next day while Trudy was at the gym. I told him in no uncertain terms that I do not like Trudy and will never accept an offer to spend time with her when he's not around, even more so now that I have a child. As expected, my father started trying to guilt me right away. First, he went on a spiel about Trudy's life story and how caring and devout she is to everyone around her. He told me about how much she loves me and wishes we could spend more time together. This wasn't the first time I heard all of that, but it was the first time I told him I didn't care. I'm glad she loves me, but I have no obligation to love her in return. I could spend hours listing all the reasons I don't like her, but I don't think she has to care about that. We're not friends and we're not family. The argument went on for a while, but eventually the subject shifted to Trudy's lack of friends. I reminded him that they live in one of the most popular streets in our city. And there are dozens of things she could do to meet new people. My father said he knew that, but Trudy didn't want to try any of them. I told her in that case there was nothing else I can do. Trudy can either start putting herself out there or continue her lonely routine. Either way, I would not be a part of it. My father said he wouldn't try to push me to hang out with Trudy anymore, but he can't guarantee that she'll do the same. I can live with that. And I reassured him I'll never stop being polite to Trudy, but I won't start liking her just because they want me to. He said he could live with that. My husband and I have come up with multiple theories of why Trudy is so fixated on having her life revolve around my father's, we call her Terminator housewife for a reason, but I've always thought it was very unhealthy for both of them. I hope she does decide to start meeting new people and doing stuff on her own, but I won't be treated as her babysitter anymore. My son is my number one priority. Thank you for your reassurance. I don't think this is over, and I don't plan on updating this as I'm very busy and tired. Cheers. Here are two comments from the update. Our first comment is, I'm glad you're satisfied with the outcome and wish you all the best and that it stays that way. However, I would not be surprised if Terminator Housewife starts to crank up her crazy. Sane people react very differently to rejection than crazy ones, and I would not count Lonely Trudy as one of the sane ones. OP responded, "Oh yeah, it's not over in the slightest, but I think my husband and I are prepared, and I'm glad my father knows I don't like her now. I don't support running around telling people you don't like them like a preschooler, but God, it felt good to get that off my chest." Our second comment is this one. My adult kids spend as little time with their father as possible because his girlfriend is always there and she absolutely has to be the center of attention at all times. They've told him that sometimes they just want to hang out with him alone, but he doesn't listen. He complained to me that they'd rather spend time with me than him, like it's my fault. So I suggested that he take them out to dinner once in a while without his girlfriend. His response was that his girlfriend has been around a long time and the kids just need to get used to that. I told him, in that case, he better get used to estrangement then. Of course, I'm wrong. But what the hell do I know? I know a lot of. Okay. OP says, I can relate. Spending time with Trudy is so incredibly draining that my husband and I have left gatherings early because we couldn't take it anymore. My relationship with my father has never been perfect, but it's a million times better when she's not around. When I was in my early 20s and he noticed I'd spend less time with him when she was visiting, my father would argue that I'd get used to her too. I never did. Okay, you know what? This is not. You know, when you don't like somebody, it's not about getting used to them. It's about not liking them, and there are valid reasons to not like Trudy. Like she seems like she's someone who is just pushy, and who is trying. Like it is not my job to babysit you. It is not my. You live in a city, okay? I could see if you lived in like a rural town, but even they have like the corn festivals and other different like town events that you could go to. You live in the middle of a city. Girl, if you do not get off your bum and maybe take a cooking class because you eat a lot of takeout, but then again, there's nothing wrong with. Well, you don't want to eat excessive takeout because that could just that could mess up a lot of your stats when you go to the doctor. And then the doctor gonna be like, stop eating all that fried food. So this has been reading Reddit. This one, Trudy, girl. Okay, that's all I'll say. Have a great day. Thank you so much for spending your time with me here, and I will see you soon.